The crystal towers of Velinary stretched up into the purple sky like frozen lightning. Inside the largest tower, representatives from 47 different species filled the great hall. Some walked on 2 legs, others crawled on many. The same air, others wore breathing masks that hissed and bubbled. All of them had come for the same reason, the 1,000-year meeting of the Galactic Council. Admiral Kexler stood at the speaking platform, his scaled hands holding an ancient data pad. The Draknari were a proud warrior race, but even Kexler looked nervous as he faced the assembled crowd. Behind him, holographic images flickered and danced, showing star maps and old pictures from worlds that no longer existed. Council members, Kexler began, his voice carrying across the hall through translation devices. My people have made a discovery in the ruins of Prothean space. We found archives that are older than any civilization currently represented in this chamber. A murmur ran through the crowd. The Protheans had been dead for thousands of years, wiped out by some disaster that left only empty cities and broken machines. Finding intact Prothean data was like discovering treasure. Dr. Yolandra, the council's lead scientist, leaned forward in her floating chair. Her people, the Ashanti, looked almost like walking trees with silver bark and leaves that changed color with their emotions. Right now, her leaves showed curiosity mixed with doubt. What kind of archives? She asked, her voice like wind through branches. Kexler touched his data pad, and the holographic display changed. Now it showed a list of species names, most of which everyone recognized. The Draknari were there, listed as aggressive but honorable. The Xenorons appeared as highly intelligent builders. Velinary were described as masters of crystal technology. But at the bottom of the list was an entry that made no sense. Humans, Kexler read aloud. Origin world, Earth Sol System, status, extinct, last confirmed contact, 3,247 standard years ago. Notable characteristics, unusual capacity for both extreme violence and extreme compassion. Warning, approach with caution if encountered. Oh! The hall fell silent. No one had ever heard of humans or Earth or the Sol System. Captain Zorik of the Hegemony spoke up from his corner of the hall. The Hegemony were known for their spy networks and information gathering. If anyone would know about a lost species, it would be them. I've never seen any reference to these humans in our files, Zorik said carefully. But the Sol System rings a bell. Our deep space monitors have detected strange energy readings from that area recently. This got everyone's attention. Dr. Yolandra's leaves turned bright orange, which meant she was excited and worried at the same time. What kind of energy readings? She asked. Unknown, Zorik replied. The patterns don't match anything in our databases. Our scientists assumed it was just cosmic background radiation, or maybe some natural phenomenon. Kexler scrolled through more of the Prothean data. According to this, humans were remarkable in many ways. They advanced from primitive cave dwellers to space travelers in just a few thousand years. Most species take 10 times longer to achieve interstellar flight.
Ow.
That's impossible, scoffed council member Thexery, a large being who looked like a cross between a bear and a lobster. No. Species develops that quickly. The Protheans seem to think otherwise, Kexler continued. They describe humans as unpredictable. One day they would create beautiful art and music, the next day they would wage terrible wars. The Protheans called them the paradox species. Dr. Yolandra made a dismissive gesture with her branch-like arms. The Protheans were known for their dramatic stories. I probably made half of this up. Every civilization has myths about mysterious lost races. But Kexler wasn't finished. He showed them images from the Prothean files, pictures of bipedal creatures with smooth skin and hair on their heads. They looked weak compared to most galactic species. No natural armor, no claws, no obvious weapons. But their eyes were different. Even in the ancient pictures, their eyes seemed to hold something that made the council members uncomfortable. The Protheans wrote that humans had a saying Kexler read. When pushed to their limits, they would say, "Hold my beer and watch this." The Protheans never understood what it meant, but they noted that these words usually came right before humans did something incredibly dangerous or incredibly brilliant. Or incredibly stupid, Dextery added, with a snort. Perhaps Kexler agreed. But according to these records, humans never lost a war when their entire species was threatened. They might lose battles, even lose worlds, but when extinction was on the line, they always found a way to win. Captain Zarek stood up slowly. Admiral, you mentioned that humans disappeared 3,247 years ago. Do the Prothean records say what happened to them? Kexler's expression grew darker. The records become unclear near the end. There are mentions of a great threat approaching, something the Protheans called the darkness between stars. Last entry about humans suggests they were preparing for some kind of final battle. And then, Dr. Ylandra asked, nothing? The Prothean records end abruptly. When our archaeologists found these ruins, there were signs of a massive battle, but no bodies. It's as if everyone just vanished. The hall grew quiet again. Everyone knew the stories about the empty worlds scattered throughout the galaxy, civilizations that had simply disappeared overnight, leaving behind only ruins and questions. I recommend we investigate, Captain Zork said finally. If there are indeed energy signatures coming from the Sol system, we should know what's causing them. A waste of time and resources, Dr. Ylandra argued. These humans are obviously extinct, just like the Protheans said. We're chasing ghosts. Zari surprised everyone by supporting the investigation. I have lived through 7 centuries, he said in his deep, rumbling voice. In that time, I have learned that the most dangerous enemies are the ones you think are already dead. The vote was close, but the Council agreed to send a small research fleet to the Sol system. Admiral Vexery would command the mission personally, taking 3 ships and a skeleton crew of scientists and diplomats. As the Council session ended, and the various species began filing out of the Great Hall, Captain Zorik approached Admiral Kexler privately. There's something else, isn't there? Zorik asked quietly. Something you didn't tell the Council? Kexler nodded grimly. The Prothean records mention that the darkness between stars operates on a cycle. Every few thousand years, it returns to harvest the galaxy's civilizations. When is the next cycle due? According to the calculations, any day now. Admiral Dixuri stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Edge, staring at the view screen in complete shock. 3 weeks of faster-than-light travel had brought his small fleet to the Sol system, and nothing could have prepared him. For what they found, the system was alive. Massive space stations orbited every major planet like mechanical moons. Ships moved between the worlds in organized patterns, their designs unlike anything in the Galactic Council's databases. The 3rd planet from the star glowed with the lights of a thriving civilization, while the 4th planet showed signs of active terraforming projects. This is impossible, whispered Dr. Ylandra from her position at the science station. Her leaves had turned pale white, which meant she was experiencing total bewilderment. The system was supposed to be dead. Captain Zorik checked his instruments. For the 5th time, all sensors confirm it. This is definitely the Sol system from the Prothean records. But there are billions of life signs down there. Before Admiral Dexery could respond, every screen on the bridge lit up with an incoming transmission. The face that appeared was unlike any species in the galactic database. Smooth, pale skin, short dark hair, and those eyes that seemed to see right through the screen. Welcome to the Sol system, the figure said in perfect galactic standard. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. Please state your business. The bridge crew exchanged stunned looks. Admiral Dexery stepped forward, trying to remember the proper first contact protocols. This is Admiral Dexery of the Galactic Council Research Fleet. We are here on a peaceful scientific mission. We were told this system was uninhabited. Commander? Morrison smiled, but it wasn't entirely friendly. Uninhabited? That's an interesting assumption. Permission to ask who told you that. Behind Morrison, other figures moved around what was clearly a military bridge. Dexery could see a female with longer hair working at a tactical station, and a male with darker skin monitoring engineering displays. Ancient records suggested your species was extinct, Dexery said carefully. We came to investigate energy readings from your system. Extinct? Morrison laughed, but there was no humor in it. Lieutenant Peters, did you hear that? They thought we were extinct. The female at the tactical station looked up. Should I be insulted or amused, Commander? Little of both, I think, Morrison replied. Then his expression grew serious as he looked back at the screen. Admiral, I'm going to transfer you to someone better qualified for this conversation. But first, I need your word that you're here peacefully. You have it, Dextery said immediately. The Galactic Council seeks only knowledge and friendship. Good, because if you had come here with hostile intentions, this conversation would be going very differently. The transmission switched to another location. This time they saw a woman in a white coat standing in what looked like a research facility. Behind her, large windows showed the curved surface of a moon. Greetings, Admiral, the woman said. I'm Dr. Lisa Chen, xenobiologist at Luna Research Station. I've been looking forward to this day for a very long time. You've been expecting? Us? Dr. Yolandra asked, leaning forward. We've been expecting someone like you for over 3,000 years, Dr. Chen replied. We knew eventually the galaxy would come looking. We just hoped it would be under better circumstances. Better circumstances? Captain Zorik interrupted. What do you mean? Dr. Chen's expression grew darker. How much do you know about galactic history, Captain? Real history, not the official records? I'm not sure I understand. Tell me, Dr. Chen continued. When did your civilizations first achieve interstellar travel? When do your oldest historical records begin? Captain Zorik thought for a moment. Most species achieved spaceflight within the last 3,000 years. The oldest continuous records go back about that far. Exactly 3,000 years, Dr. Chen asked pointedly. Give or take a few centuries, yes. What's your point? The point is, that's not a coincidence. Something happened 3,000 years ago that wiped the slate clean across the entire galaxy. Most civilizations either went extinct or were set back to primitive levels. Only a few species survived with their technology intact. Admiral Dextery felt a chill run through his body. Are you suggesting some kind of galactic disaster? Not a disaster, Dr. Chen said grimly. A harvest. The transmission switched again, this time to an orbital station. A woman in a military uniform appeared on screen, flanked by a man in diplomatic robes. Admiral, I'm Captain Nicole Barnes, commander of Haven Point Station. This is Ambassador Paul Wright. We're authorized to speak for Earth's government in first contact situations. Your government has protocols for first contact. Asked in amazement, we've had 3,000 years to prepare, Ambassador Wright replied. We knew this day would come eventually. We just hoped we'd be ready. Ready for what? Admiral Dextery demanded. You keep hinting at something terrible, but you won't tell us what. Captain Barnes and Ambassador Wright exchanged a look that made Dexteria's stomach turn. Finally, Wright spoke. Admiral, would you be willing to come aboard our station? What we need to tell you isn't the kind of information that should be transmitted over open channels. Is that wise? Captain Zorik whispered to Dextery. We know nothing about these humans. They could be hostile. But Dr. Chen's voice came through the speakers. Captain Zorik, if we wanted to hurt you, you would already be dead. Your ships have been in our weapons range since you entered the system. Weapons range. Dr. Yolandra's leaves turned bright red. You don't detect any weapon signatures. That's the idea. Commander Morrison's voice joined the conversation. Admiral, we're sending coordinates for Haven Point. You're welcome to bring a full diplomatic party. But I strongly recommend you hear what we have to say. As the transmission ended, Admiral Dextery looked around his bridge. His crew was scared, confused, and fascinated, all at the same time. Sir, Captain Zorik said quietly, our deep scans of their system show technology levels far beyond anything we've seen. Their power signatures alone suggest capabilities that dwarf our most advanced civilizations. And they've been hiding here for 3,000 years, Dr. Yolandra added, her leaves now cycling through colors of worry and curiosity. Why? What were they hiding from? Admiral Dextery made his decision. Prepare a shuttle. Diplomatic team. If these humans wanted us dead, they could have killed us the moment we arrived. They clearly have something important to tell us. And if it's a trap? Zorik asked. Zorik asked at the image of Earth on his screen, covered in lights and bustling. With activity? Then we're probably already dead anyway. Something tells me these humans aren't our enemies. As their shuttle approached Haven Point Station, the Sori couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The humans had survived when they were supposed to be extinct. They had technology that surpassed the entire Galactic Council, and they had been preparing for something for 3,000 years. The question that terrified him most was simple. What had they been preparing for? Haven Point Station was bigger than most cities. Admiral Dexery and his team walked through corridors that stretched 4 kilometers, past windows that showed the curve of Earth below. Humans moved around them with purpose, some in military uniforms, others in civilian clothes. They all had that same look in their eyes. The look of people who had been waiting for something for a very long time. Ambassador. Paul Wright led them to a large conference room where holographic displays covered every wall. Captain Nicole Barnes was already there, along with Dr. Lisa Chen and several other humans. At the head of the table sat a man who looked older than the others, with gray hair and scars on his hands. Admiral Vexery, Ambassador Wright said, "I'd like you to meet General Marcus Webb, Earth's Military Historical Archive Director." General Webb stood up slowly, like a man carrying a heavy burden. "Admiral, what I'm about to tell you will change everything you think you know about galactic history. Before I begin, I need to ask, have any of your species ever encountered something called the Void Hunters?" The name sent a chill through the room. Dr. Yolandra's sleeves turned pure white, and Captain Zarik actually stepped backward. "The Void Hunters are myths," Dr. Yolandra said quickly. "To frighten children. Mechanical monsters that supposedly consumed entire civilizations? Not myths," General Webb said grimly. "Very real, and they're coming back." He touched a control on the table, and the holographic displays came to life. They showed star maps, but not like any the council members had seen before. These maps showed the galaxy across thousands of years, with civilizations rising and falling in patterns. Every 3,000 years, give or take a century, the Void Hunters emerge from the space between galaxies, General Webb explained. They sweep through inhabited space, harvesting technology, resources, and biological data. When they're finished, they disappear back into the void, leaving behind empty worlds and broken civilizations.
Admiral Dexery
Stared at the displays. "That's impossible. We would have records of such events." "Would you?" Captain Barnes asked. "Tell me, Admiral, what's the oldest continuous historical record any species in the Council possesses?" The Xori thought for a moment. "The Velinary Crystal Archives go back about 3,000 years. And before that, they're fragments. Legends, but nothing reliable." General Webb nodded sadly. "'Cause 3,000 years ago, the Void Hunters conducted their last harvest. Your ancestors survived, but barely. Most species were set back to pre-industrial levels. The few that maintained their technology did so by hiding or by pure luck." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "Humanity was different. We had only recently achieved interstellar travel when we encountered the Void Hunters. We were weak, primitive compared to the great civilizations of that time. But we had one advantage." "What advantage?" Captain Zorik asked. "We were paranoid," Dr. Chen said with a bitter smile. "Humans have always been good at imagining worst-case scenarios. When we found evidence of the hunters, we didn't dismiss it as myth. We prepared for war." The holographic display changed, showing human space 3,000 years ago. It was tiny compared to the great empires of the time, just a few dozen systems. Clustered around Earth, the Protheans, the Zanari Empire, the Crystal Confederacy, General Webb listed. All of them were more advanced than us. All of them fell to the hunters because they couldn't adapt fast enough. But humanity survived, Ambassador Wright continued. "We made a choice that seemed cowardly at the time. Instead of fighting the hunters directly, we went into hiding." Admiral Xori leaned forward. "You faked your own extinction." "Not faked," Captain Barnes corrected. "We actually did destroy our visible civilization. We bombarded our own colonies, made it look like We had wiped ourselves out in nuclear war. The few survivors fled to hidden bases in empty star systems, dark nebulae, anywhere the hunters wouldn't think to look. The display showed the process: human ships destroying their own cities, survivors fleeing to secret locations scattered across the galaxy. It was one of the most disturbing things the X-ray had ever seen. While other species were being harvested, General Webb continued, we were studying the enemy. We captured hunter technology, learned how their systems worked, developed weapons specifically designed to kill them. Weapons? Dr. Yolanda asked, her leaves cycling through colors of fear and fascination. Dr. Chen nodded. The hunters are machines, but they're not like normal computers. They're made of self-repairing nanomachines that can adapt to almost any attack. Conventional weapons just make them stronger. What? You found a way to hurt them, Captain Zorik said. We found a way to kill them, Captain Barnes corrected. Quantum disruption technology. It doesn't just destroy the nanomachines, it prevents them from repairing themselves. Hunter hit by quantum weapons stays dead. General Webb touched another control. The display showed human weapons, sleek ships with unusual energy projectors, torpedoes that seemed to bend space around them, and devices that hurt to look at directly. We've spent 3,000 years preparing for their return, General Webb said. Every human child learns about the hunters from the moment they can talk. Every human adult has trained for this war. We've built our entire civilization around one purpose, making sure the hunters never harvest the galaxy again. And when are they coming back? Admiral Lixori asked, though he already suspected the answer. Soon, Ambassador Wright said quietly, our deep space monitoring stations have detected the first scouts. The main harvest fleet will arrive within months. The room fell silent. The magnitude of what they had just learned was overwhelming. The Galactic Council represented 47 species with billions of lives. All of them were about to face an enemy they had forgotten existed. Us this now? Captain Zarik asked. Why not continue hiding? General Webb's expression hardened. Because this time, we're not running. 3,000 years of preparation has led to this moment. The hunters think they're coming to harvest another generation of helpless civilizations. Instead, they're going to find humanity waiting for them. And us? Dr. Yolanda asked. What happens to the Council species? That depends, Captain Barnes said. You can evacuate to the galactic rim and hope the hunters don't find you. You can try to fight them with conventional weapons and probably die. Or you can trust us and let us teach you how to hurt them. Admiral. Ixuri looked around the room at his colleagues. They were all thinking the same thing. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy was wrong. Their civilizations weren't ancient and established. They were survivors of a cosmic catastrophe. Children playing with toys while monsters gathered in the dark. What do you need from us? Ixuri asked finally. Ambassador Wright smiled for the first time since they had arrived. Time, resources, and trust. We need to retrofit your fleets with quantum weapons. We need to train your people to fight an enemy unlike anything they've ever imagined. And we need to do it all before the hunters arrive in force. And if we refuse, Captain Zorik asked, General Webb's expression was grim but not unkind. Then you'll share the fate of every other civilization that has ever faced the Void Hunters. Alone, you'll be harvested. Your technology absorbed, your people turned into data in their memory banks. Admiral Vexery stood up slowly. I need to contact the Council immediately. Of course, Ambassador Wright said. But Admiral, when you... Tell them what you've learned here. Remember one thing. The hunters are coming whether we're ready or not. The only question is whether the galaxy will face them, united or divided. As they prepared to leave Haven Point, Admiral Dexry couldn't shake the feeling that they had just crossed a line. There would be no going back to the way things were before. The comfortable illusion of galactic peace was over. The war for survival was about to begin. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was chaos. Admiral Vexery stood at the center of the Great Hall on Velaneri, trying to speak over the shouting voices of 47 species representatives. Some demanded proof of humanity's claims. Others were already ordering evacuation fleets. A few accused the humans of lying to start a war. Council President Valkyrie struck her crystal staff against the floor, sending musical tones through the hall. Admiral Dexery has the floor. Thank you, President, Dexery said, his voice carrying the weight of what he had learned. I know. This sounds impossible, but everything the humans told us is true. I've seen their weapons, their historical records, their preparation. The Void Hunters are real, and they're coming. Dr. Yolandra stepped forward, her leaves bright yellow with stress. Even if we believe this story, how do we know we can trust these humans? They admit to hiding from us for 3,000 years. They could be the real threat. Before the Xuri could answer, Captain Zorek's communication device started beeping. Urgently, he checked it, and his face went pale. President Velkari, he said in a shaky voice, I'm receiving reports from our deep space monitoring stations. 3 systems in the Outer Rim have gone silent in the past hour. The hall fell quiet. Systems didn't just go silent. Which systems? President Velkari asked. Kefthara, Nuzantara, and the Helix Trading Post, Zorek replied. All communication stopped mid-transmission. Admiral Kexler's scales rattled with fear. Those systems are spread across different sectors. What could cause simultaneous failures? As if in answer to his question, every communication device in the hall started receiving the same emergency signal. A holographic display appeared above the council floor, showing a transmission from Captain Rolvin of the merchant vessel Starlight Dream. The image was filled with static, but they could see Captain Rolvin's terrified face as he shouted into his communicator. This is the Starlight Dream requesting immediate assistance. You're under attack by unknown forces. They appeared out of nowhere, massive dark ships that our weapons can't even scratch. They're not responding to any communication attempts, just destroying everything and harvesting the debris. The transmission showed glimpses of space outside the merchant ship. Dark shapes moved against the stars, ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Energy beams lanced out from the mysterious vessels, cutting through defending ships like they were made of paper. By the void, Captain Rolvin screamed, they're not just destroying the ships, they're taking the people. I can see them being pulled up into those dark ships by some kind of energy beam. The transmission cut to static. The council hall was dead silent for several seconds. Then everyone started talking at once, voices rising in panic and disbelief. Those ships, Dr. Yolandra whispered, they matched the descriptions in the ancient myths. Not myths, Admiral Dexery said grimly. History. President Valkyrie struck her staff again. Emergency protocols are now in effect.
Okay.
All council fleets are to mobilize immediately. To do what? Demanded Admiral Kexler. If these are the Void Hunters the humans described, our weapons are useless against them. As if summoned by his words, a new holographic display appeared in the hall. Commander Jake Morrison's face looked out at them from the bridge of his ship. Council members, Morrison said urgently, we're monitoring your emergency broadcasts. The Hunters have begun their advance operations. This is exactly what we've been warning you about. Can you help us? President Valkyrie asked desperately. We're already moving, Morrison replied. General Rachel Stone is deploying our forward fleets to intercept the Hunter scouts. We need to coordinate with your forces immediately. Display split to show another human, a woman in military uniform standing in what looked like a war room. Maps and tactical displays covered every surface behind her. This is General Stone, she said without preamble. I'm sending coordinates for emergency assembly points throughout the galaxy. Any council ships that can fight need to meet us there immediately. What about evacuation of civilian populations? Dr. Yolandra asked. Already happening, General. Stone replied. Human transport fleets are moving to assist with evacuation of non-combat worlds. But I won't lie to you, we can't save everyone. The Hunters move too fast. As if to prove her point, more emergency signals flooded the council. Chamber, system after system reported attacks or went silent entirely. The Void Hunters weren't approaching slowly, they were striking everywhere at once. How is this possible? Captain Zarik asked. How many ships do they have? Thousands, Commander Morrison answered grimly. The main harvest fleet is still days away. What you're seeing now is just their advance force. Admiral Dextery felt his heart sink. If this was just the advance force, what would happen when the main fleet arrived? Our first priority, General Stone continued, is to blood our combined forces against the Hunter Scouts. Your people need to learn how to fight them before the real battle begins. What do you mean learn to fight them? Admiral Kexler asked.
Watch,
Morrison said. The display changed to show space near the Helix Nebula. Several human ships moved in formation, their hulls sleek and predatory. This is Captain Tony Lewis leading Destroyer Squadron 7. The human ships approached a group of dark hunter vessels that were attacking a mining station. The hunters immediately turned to engage, their weapons firing streams of energy that could cut through normal ships like butter. But the human ships moved differently than anything the council members had ever seen. They didn't just dodge the hunter weapons, they seemed to flow around them like water. And when they returned fire, their weapons left trails of twisted space that hurt to look at directly. The first hunter ship hit by human quantum torpedoes simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not exploded, it just stopped being there, leaving empty space where a massive warship had been moments before. Quantum disruption, General Stone explained, as they watched the human ships systematically destroy the hunter force. It doesn't just kill them. It prevents their nano-machines from adapting or repairing. Within minutes, the entire hunter force was gone. The human ships immediately moved to assist the mining station, pulling survivors from the wreckage. That's impossible, Dr. Yolandra said in amazement. They made it look easy. It wasn't easy, Commander Morrison said seriously. Captain Lewis lost 2 ships in that engagement. The hunters learned from every battle. Next time they'll be harder. To kill? Next time? President Velker asked. The real war is just beginning, General Stone said. The hunters are testing our defenses, learning our capabilities. Soon they'll adapt their tactics and bring their full force to bear. More emergency signals filled the chamber as additional systems came under attack. The galaxy was burning. And this was only the beginning. What do you need from us? Admiral Vexery asked. Everything, Morrison replied. Every ship that can fight. Every resource you can spare. We're going to retrofit your fleets with quantum weapons as fast as possible. But it's going to be a race against time. And if we can't do it fast enough? Captain Zorik asked. General Stone's expression was grim. Then the galaxy burns, just like it did 3,000 years ago. Except this time, humanity won't be hiding in the shadows. We'll be fighting beside you until the very end. As emergency alerts continued to flood the council chamber, Admiral Vexery realized they had crossed another line. The comfortable illusion that they could choose whether to fight was gone, the Void Hunters had made. That choice for them? The war had begun, and there was nowhere left to run. The war had been raging for 6 months when the Void Hunters made their biggest mistake. They tried to establish a permanent harvesting station in the Central Core, the most populated region of the galaxy. It was there that Admiral Kate Miller would lead the largest fleet in galactic history into the battle that would decide everything. Standing on the bridge of the massive human dreadnought, Sovereign, Admiral Miller watched as ships from dozens of species took their positions. Drachnary warships flew alongside human destroyers. Zentoran science vessels worked with Velinary crystal ships. Even the peaceful Ashanti had sent their bioships to join the fight. Admiral Captain Steve Morgan reported from his position aboard. The EU's Valiant, all fleet groups are in position. We're reading over 3,000 ships ready for battle. Admiral Miller nodded. 6 months ago, most of these species had never heard of humans. Now they were following human battle plans and using human weapons to fight an enemy that had haunted the galaxy for millions of years. Status on the Hunter Station? Miller asked Commander Beth Taylor, her tactical officer, checked her displays. It's massive, Admiral. The station is 12 kilometers long and growing. Our scouts report they're using it to process captured populations from 17 different worlds. Miller's jaw tightened. The hunters didn't just kill people, they turned them into data, storing their memories and experiences in vast computer banks. Billions of lives had already been lost to feed the growing station. Any word from General Hayes? Miller asked. The ground assault teams are in position, Taylor reported. General Lisa Hayes confirms that all boarding parties are ready for simultaneous insertion. The plan was insane by normal military standards. While the main fleet attacked the hunter station from outside, human special forces would teleport directly inside the station to rescue survivors and plant quantum charges in critical systems. It was the kind of desperate strategy that only worked if everyone did their job perfectly. All ships. This is Admiral Miller. She broadcast on all frequencies. Today we end the cycle. Today we show the hunters that this galaxy belongs to the living, not the machines. Attack pattern Alpha. Engage when ready. The combined fleet moved forward like a tide of metal and energy. Human quantum torpedoes led the charge, followed by Drachneri, plasma cannons, and Zintoran particle beams. The hunters responded immediately, their dark ships pouring out of the station like angry insects. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes, while others simply vanished into quantum tears in space. Hunter nanomachini swarms tried to adapt to the alien weapons, but the humans had spent months teaching other species how to randomize their attack patterns. Captain Tony Lewis, now commanding a mixed squadron of human and alien ships, led a desperate charge against the station's main defense grid. His ship, the UES Retribution, had been rebuilt 3 times during the war, each time with better weapons and stronger armor. "Focus fire on grid section 7, Lewis ordered. "Don't let them adapt to our quantum frequency." The alien ships followed his lead perfectly. Months of joint training had taught them to fight as one force instead of dozens of separate fleets. Drachneri warriors who had once viewed humans as weak primitives now followed human tactics without question. Meanwhile, inside the hunter station, General Hayes led her boarding parties through corridors filled with captured people from across the galaxy. Some were still alive, held in stasis fields while the hunters slowly drained their memories. Others had been turned into organic computers, their brains used to process data for the hunter collective. "Stay together," Hayes ordered her mixed team of human special forces and alien volunteers. "The hunters will try to separate us and pick us off individually." They fought their way deeper into the station, past mechanical guardians and automated defenses. Colonel Ann Foster led one team to the power core, while Hayes herself headed for the central processing unit where the hunters' main intelligence was located. Outside, the battle was reaching its climax. Admiral Miller watched as Captain Ron Baker's ship, the UES Independence, took heavy damage while protecting a group of Velinary crystal ships. Admiral Baker's voice came over the communicator. "My engines are gone, and weapons are at 20%. But I can still ram the station's main weapon." "Negative, Captain," Miller replied. "We need you alive." "With respect, Admiral, we need that weapon offline more than we need one old ship," Baker said calmly. "Tell my family I did this for them," before Miller could stop him. Baker's ship accelerated toward the massive hunter weapon that had been destroying Allied ships all day. The UES Independence struck the weapon array at full speed, both ship and weapon disappearing in a quantum explosion that lit up half the battlefield. The sacrifice gave the fleet the opening they needed. Human and alien ships poured through the gap in the station's defenses, their combined firepower overwhelming the hunter repair systems inside the station. General Hayes finally reached the central core. The Hunter Prime consciousness was there, a massive mechanical brain that coordinated all hunter operations in the galaxy. Round it, the stolen memories of billions of beings flickered like ghosts in the machine. "This is for everyone you've taken," Hayes said as she planted the quantum charges. The explosion that followed didn't just destroy the station. It sent a quantum pulse throughout hunter space that disrupted their collective consciousness. For the first time in millions of years, the Void Hunters experienced something they had never felt before. Fear, Admiral. Miller watched from the Sovereign's bridge as the massive hunter station collapsed in on itself, taking most of the hunter fleet with it, across the galaxy. Reports came in of hunter forces retreating, their coordination broken by the loss of their central intelligence. Admiral Commander Taylor reported with amazement in her voice. "We're receiving surrender signals from hunter ships throughout the galaxy. They're giving up." Miller couldn't believe it at first. The Void Hunters had never surrendered in their entire existence. But without their central consciousness to guide them, the individual hunter ships seemed lost. Confused, Captain Morgan's voice came over the communicator from his ship. "Admiral, what are your orders regarding the surrendering hunters?" Miller thought for a long moment. The easy answer would be to destroy them all, to make sure they could never threaten the galaxy again. But that would make humanity just another species that solved problems with violence. "Take them prisoner," she ordered finally. "We'll study their technology, learn from them, and make sure they can never hurt anyone again. But we won't become murderers in the name of justice." In the months that followed, the galaxy began to heal. Hunter's quantum technology was adapted. For peaceful purposes, faster communication, better medicine, safer space travel, the species of the Galactic Council worked together in ways they never had before. United by their shared experience of fighting for survival, humanity took its place not as conquerors, but as guardians. Human ships patrolled the space between galaxies, watching for any sign that the hunters might return. Human scientists worked with alien researchers to make sure no species would ever again face extinction from forces beyond their understanding. Admiral Miller, now promoted to Supreme Commander of Galactic Defense, stood in her office, looking out at Earth. The planet was more beautiful than ever, its lights representing not just human civilization, but the hopes of an entire galaxy. Commander Morrison, now her deputy, joined her at the window. "Any regrets about coming out of hiding?" he asked. Miller smiled. "None at all. We were never meant to hide from the universe. We were meant to protect it." Outside, ships from dozens of species moved between Earth and its orbital stations. Galaxy was at peace, protected by those who had learned that sometimes the greatest strength came not from hiding in the shadows, but from standing together in the light. The age of the Void Hunters was over. The age of unity had begun.